Hey there, I'm Mastin Kipp, founder of thedailyLove.com and author of the book Daily Love, Growing into Grace, and welcome to this week's episode of Daily Love TV. Question for you: is perfectionism ruining your life? Now, you might think for a moment, well, you know what? No, I have high standards. Things have to be perfect. I want it a certain way. I have high standards, and that's just what I've been used to, and that's the level that I hold myself. But you know what's interesting is that I've worked with lots of people, entrepreneurs, and lots of people who are just trying to change their life, and just people from all over the world. And what's interesting is that perfectionism shows up in the most fascinating places. There's this idea that, well, whatever my dream is, or whatever my vision is, I have to have the perfect vision figured out. Or if I'm starting a business, I have to have it all figured out perfectly ahead of time. And what's interesting is that as I start to ask my clients questions and we go deeper and deeper and deeper into why does this have to be perfect before you get started, there's an undercover fear. And the fear goes something like this: well, if it's not perfect, then there will be failure. And if there's failure, I'll be abandoned. And if I'm being abandoned, I'll be alone. And if I'm alone, then I'll die. That's kind of a version of how the thoughts trickle down. And you know what's interesting is that Tony Robbins, a friend and mentor of mine, says that perfection is the lowest standard possible because perfection is really an impossible goal, because there's really nothing perfect that we can really do with our humanly made hands. And so ultimately what you start to realize is we need to trade perfectionism for progress. Right? The fear of getting started is what tends to hold us back. You know, you have an idea, you have an idea for a book or a blog or a business or a relationship, or there's something that you want to do, and you're worried that if you don't get it perfect from the beginning, it's never going to work out. But you know what's interesting? It's not working out because of that exact same belief. What's fascinating as I've worked with people is that whenever they have a fear, right? The fear that a project's going to, not work out, or the fear of a relationship's not going to work out. Generally speaking, when they're in that fear, they're actually in the middle of their worst case scenario or their fear. What does that mean? What it means is, let's just say that you want to start a project and you're so afraid the project's going to fail that you have to get it perfect before you get started. But the thing is, you never get it perfectly perfect, so you never get started. And in essence, the project has failed because you never got started. So I really do believe that perfectionism is really a disease of low self-esteem, which really makes us think, if I'm not perfect, ultimately, then I'm gonna be abandoned, I'm not gonna get love. But ultimately, no matter what you're really doing, doesn't matter if it's a relationship or a business, whatever you're striving for in that next level in your life, your humanness, your personality, your scars, your vulnerability, that is what's going to help take you to that next level of depth of intimacy or success in business. Because ultimately, getting started is what's going to help you really get that clarity about what you actually want. You know, if there's a career that you want to look into and you're not 100% sure whether you want to go into that career, dive into that career and go find out. If there's a business that you want to start and you don't have the perfect product figured out right away, launch it and see what happens. You don't have to have it perfect to get started, but the thing is, it will never happen until you get started. So I really want to encourage you today and this week to step away from perfectionism. And yes, always have high standards, always really focus on quality, and always focus on really making things the best they can be, but get started. It's always gonna be better next week. It's always gonna be better next year. You're always gonna know more next year than you did last year. But you don't wanna waste any more time when things need to be perfect before you get started. In fact, one of the biggest success principles I've found in my life, one of the reasons why the Daily Love has been able to reach so many people, is simply because I got started. I still to this day don't have the perfect website or the perfect YouTube channel or the perfect Facebook page or the perfect email, but it's been growing and evolving and getting refined over time. It's that momentum that has really carried me forward, and the momentum came from little tiny action steps moving forward even though something wasn't perfect. So I'm gonna encourage you this week to not have it be perfect, but to definitely get started right now. So you might be watching this video over on Facebook or over on YouTube. I'm gonna encourage you to come on over to thedailyLove.com, and below this video, really out your fears of perfectionism. Why haven't you started? Where haven't you started? And what are you going to start now, even though it's not perfect? It doesn't have to be perfect. You just got to get started. And on top of that, if we have any recovering perfectionists watching this video, I'd encourage you to come on over to thedailyLove.com, and below this video, leave your success story of how you recovered from perfectionism. What did you do? How did really getting started, how was that more powerful than having it perfect before you get started? Either way, please feel free to leave a comment below this video, because I believe that together we can grow into who we're meant to be. My deepest wish for you here at Daily Love TV every single week, and right now, especially for you perfectionists out there, is to get out there, take action, and make it real. We'll see you next week.